awareness, self-awareness is wonderful, but doesn't crack the code. You know, being aware that we feel like shit, excuse my language, is wonderful. But when we know that we feel something unpleasant and doing something about it, this is when we can pivot. What we say is the karmic momentum of our lives, or the direction of our lives. And the simplest and hardest thing to do, it's very simple, but it's very hard, is to not do any of the holy things to distract ourselves from feeling. For instance, I had spent so much of my time doing these really holy things, chanting mantras, meditating on my breath, visualizing myself as the Buddha in my mind, doing all these beautiful things. And granted, we have to do these things to settle our nervous system. But there is something about not engaging with the stories and bringing the attention into the body. And in the book, I explain this in detail too. And I bring back this point over and over again. And it's something that it's kind of the background of Buddhist philosophy, of Buddhist psychology, in order to deal with difficult emotions, which is to not engage with stories and to bring your awareness to the felt sense, to the feeling. And this is, I believe, is the foundation of somatics across, the variety of expressions of somatics these days. And what it looks like is very simple. You're noticing the stories about, oh, I feel this way because of this person, because of this thing that happened, all the stories, right? We always want something or someone to blame for how we feel. This is just how we're socialized. This is how our psyches are socialized, which is fine. But freedom does not lie on us staying in the story. Freedom only can happen if we're in the present moment, because talking back to the past pulls you out of your body, out of the present moment. And healing only happens in the present moment. And that's where our bodies are. That's where our emotions happen. So notice the story and notice that we are habituated to talk back to the story. Say, oh my God, you're right. I suck. This is awful. Oh my God, he is the worst. They did, you name it. All the ways that we talk back to our stories. And then as you develop your somatic awareness, as you develop your capacity to scan your body, you're going to be able to do it with your mind's eye. You're going to immediately ask, where is the anger? And you're going to be shown that perhaps it's in your throat, chest, belly. To me, it's always the left side of my belly. This is where the strong emotions kind of reside and strike. And if you can't do it with your mind's eye, if you can't drop your awareness with your eyes closed to that part of your body, bring your hand there. This is what self-compassion is like, is your capacity to offer grace to your feelings, offer patience to your feelings. And a lot of us have become habituated to neglecting our feelings because of our caretakers. In the smallest or biggest ways, they didn't care for us when we needed to be picked up, when we needed to be fed, when we needed to a shoulder to cry on, all these things. And again, we look at that as data for how we are behaving now, but it's our responsibility to make change, right? We can place responsibility on their faults, on their transgressions, but we have to look at their transgressions as something that it's now ours to do something about. And now we are neglecting our utmost intimate part of ourselves, which is our feelings, And it's going to be hard, my dear, because I had spent maybe 5 years of my path doing the really holy thing. Big emotions will come up. To me, it was shame and guilt. And these emotions, oftentimes when they're so big, we know the biggest mantra in AA, if it's hysterical, it's historical. We can look to that. When our emotions don't match the context of reality, it's something that it's historical, and we can look at data for it to predate us. Like, it may be something that mommy and daddy and grandma and grandpa were carrying, and they didn't stop the cycle, so you now have to do it. Or you may look at past lives, right? If you carry a Buddhist esoteric view, you may look at previous iterations of you that didn't finish the healing work in previous lives, so there you are with this big responsibility to do it. So we can look at these two streams of how we are shaped, right? How our psyches are impacted, how our biology may be impacted. But the real key here is to just stop everything and feel, because feelings have a natural cycle. They run their course. What makes them stay is our rejection of them. What makes them stay is us hoping to deflect and neglect and distract. And in today's society, we look at what we call happy people as those people who have a life that's very structured around how quickly can they distract themselves from feeling. And then we see these people as happy, but the truth is they're just doing the running around, hovering over their bodies, running away from their bodies, doing everything they can to go from the TV to the phone to the coffee to the cookies to the you name it, everything we can to not stop because we think that feelings may hurt us. We think that these feelings are too big. I can't feel them. But the truth that I've seen, and from my practice, is that no feeling is too big that you can't feel them, and no feeling is ever here to hurt you. You know.
Mm,
So start, start slowly, because, like I said, I had spent vast majority of my path running away from feeling. And it worked. It really worked. I could distract myself by chanting a mantra, a really holy mantra from a dead language. And I looked very esoteric and I looked very interesting from doing these things. And I would do these asanas and these mudras and I would eat in a specific way. And all these things were very helpful. But the path changed the day that the shame visited me. And the shame said, "You're such a bad person. You shouldn't be here." It would always go to the worst case scenario. Would always catapult into suicidal ideation. But this morning, I was living in New York City in Bushwick. I said, "Not today. I'm gonna do the thing of dropping the stories and coming into the body." It is a hard practice, right? Because when we touch the feeling, when we start to engage with the feeling in our bodies, when we start to actually offer ourselves self-compassion, the stories will become even more intense, even louder. But we have to keep dropping into the body, dropping into the body, dropping into the body. And slowly, slowly, the more we practice, you're going to be able to feel your feelings in the moment as they happen. This is what we want, is to be in conflict with a friend, or to be in conflict with a partner, or to be at the grocery store, or to be at the pharmacy picking up our medication, and something happens with our credit card that we don't spiral. We can just be with it in the body as it comes. And we then start to take radical responsibility for how we feel. And how we feel dictates how we see reality. So if our reality is looking really dire, instead of continue to find reasons why reality is dire and being human sucks, which, hey, I can relate. My mother's dead. I have a lot of evidence to say this is bad, this sucks. And I can still find poetry. I can still find beauty, you know? Come into the body, be with the feeling, be with the feeling. Slowly, slowly, you're gonna feel this really strange experience where the feeling, when you bring your awareness there, will start to move. Will start to move. And sometimes it will move and will change, not for the better. It may change for the worse for a little while. Um, but it will change. And that's what we need to get to. We need to get to the experience of change. They say that the liberated beings, the beings who have crossed over the river of suffering, this is Buddhist philosophy, right? Um, they say that they are at one with change. They're always aware. But so much of our lives, we are resisting change. We're resisting the fact that I feel pleasant and happy, and then all of a sudden I feel unhappy.
yeah.
And it is so natural, dear. It's so natural. It's so
Mhm.
natural. We have these three states, these three basic states. Lynn has spoken about this in detail, I'm sure. Pleasant, unpleasant, and neutral. And obviously, within these three states is very nuanced. There's like many layers to it. Yeah. So I hope this is helpful. I bring this exact point over and over, drop it as little breadcrumbs throughout the book because we can't do community if we don't know how to feel our feelings well. Because when we feel unpleasant next to a friend, what do? Oh, she sucks. I don't want to talk to her. She's boring. Bye, cancel, out of my life. And it's really like, oh, maybe that feeling was already inside of me and she didn't put it there. Can she actually put a feeling inside of me? Maybe not. So thank you.